Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we want to have a major discussion on the idea of having a return to parliamentary system of government in Nigeria. You will recollect that between just before independence up until 1966, Nigeria practiced a parliamentary system of government. Now all of that changed after the military coup of 1966 and the return to democracy in 1979. But there is now a concerted effort in the House of Representatives to return Nigeria to a parliamentary system of government in the view that we might be able to get better democracy dividend under a parliamentary system. And I believe that myself. And so today, we have one of the leading voices and a major stalwart of that attempt in the House of Representatives speaking to us today in Inside Sources. I'd like to welcome my good friend and brother, Representative Abdulsamad Dasuki, to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Mr. Lawulu, and good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. Why do you want to make this major move? What's the driving force and spirit behind this idea?
Well, it's not something that we have to start digging. Things are not working in Nigeria. You know, we can't deny that fact, and this is not something that started with this 10th Assembly. Some of us that were in the 8th Assembly, we believe that there were things that were fundamentally wrong with the system. And we believe that, look, if we continue to practice what we believe is fundamentally faulty, then we're likely to be where we are. Between 2015, when we started it till now, we have seen the differences. You know, we don't need to go far. Every now and then, when you have an election, you are always the last one better than this. So that means there's something that we need to sit together and agree that, look, we need a way forward. And based on that, a good number of us, again, came back in the 10th Assembly and realized that way forward for us, the system is contributing. Some will say the Nigerian factor, the Nigerian people, but we believe the system itself, you know, it's a system that gives you so much power.
Right.
You know, and absolutely, you know what power does?
Right.
It corrupts absolutely. And this is where we are. And our founding fathers did a very good job. Some of us believe that our founding fathers had the foresight to believe that Nigeria is a plural state. Everything in plural. So the best thing, let's find an avenue where we can have, you know, even if it's the elites, the elected representatives coming together to determine what is best for the people, then go and implement it. And that's why they took us to where they took us to, which is the parliamentary system, even if we know that our colonial masters, you know, we are practicing the parliamentary system. But if you look at what happened, what worked for us in between the years that we practiced parliamentary, most of the foundation that was laid for development in Nigeria happened around that time.
True. I mean, I you know, like I said in the introduction myself, I'm persuaded, you know, that the parliamentary system is going to help us better. But I wanted to ask you, so now in the attempt that, you know, people like you are making in the House of Representatives, will it be, is this something that we can achieve in good time? Or what is the timeline that you have, you know, for this? Before we get into I wanted to know.
Well, you know, we're practicing, you know, a democracy which has a constitution.
Right.
So everything we're doing has to be based on what is in the current constitution. Right. And in the current constitution, the only way we can go back to what we want to achieve is to amend the constitution. So based on that, we decided to bring 3 different amendments, whereby why don't we amend the aspect of local governments, you know, in the next 3 to 4 years and start practicing the local government, full parliamentary system in the local government. After which we migrate to the states and most likely the same time to the federal. What is it that we want to achieve in the local government? In our draft proposal, you know, which is not cast in stone. That's why we have decided to target a parliamentary system, but a homegrown.
Right.
A homegrown, we're not copying anybody's parliamentary to come and paste and say, no, Nigeria must copy. No, let's sit down and believe and agree. This is the best way forward for us. So we said, start with local governments and 2027 elections. Why don't you do it? Local government election should be together with the general election, whereby all you do is elect the councillors because you have the wards.
Right.
And it's from the wards that they have the chairman.
Right.
So if you have the wards, electing their councillors, and the councillors, after elected, they elect the chairman amongst themselves.
Okay.
So if the chairman is not living up to expectation, they take him back to his councillor seat and they elect another person to lead them. That is what we're asking for. That is the proposal we have. But like I said,
there will be no election of local government chairman.
There shouldn't be election for local government chairman. Equally, there shouldn't be election for the governor. And at the same time, there shouldn't be an election for the president as well. By the general public, it should be your representatives that have been elected that do. That is our own proposal, like I said.
Right.
It's not cast in stone.
Right.
But I mean, we're happy, with a good number of Nigerians, that are coming up to say, sincerely speaking, this is the way forward. Then now is how do we come to a round table? How do we sit together to agree that,
Yeah. So in the well-known parliamentary system format, so you will have, just like you said, elections of the representatives from their wards, local government, their constituencies, at the state and federal level. And then normally what happens in the normal, parliamentary system, particularly the British type, and also even the one that is practiced in India, is that the head of the party, so for instance, at the national level, the leader of the party, who will also stand election in his or her own constituency. Now, if he wins and his party, he or she wins and his party wins the majority, he will then be the one to form the government and be the head of the government.
That's right.
Is that also what you are proposing?
Well, if you look, that's not what we are proposing. What we are proposing is amongst the parliament, you don't have to have the chairman or leader of the party automatic taking over. No.
Okay.
You elected amongst yourselves. Just like we do with the speaker, as enshrined in the constitution or in our own laws, our standing rules, is amongst yourselves. Who is the best to take us to where we want to be?
Okay.
Number one, just get elected into the parliament. Right. It's part of the things we're putting on the table. But like I'm saying, we are trying to start this generation. Let's talk what is Nigeria. What is best for Nigeria?
Right.
We have leaders that have seen the First Republic. And they're still alive,
right?
To guide us, where they believe is best for Nigeria, based on what they have seen. And that's what we are looking at. That is the debate we are putting. That look, we are saying get those that were part of the system and those of us in this our generation to sit together and agree how best. But for me or for my colleagues, what we are proposing is amongst the elected representatives, they have the prime minister and they have the ministers, who shouldn't have an extra salary. Maybe all they need 1 or 2 allowances based on that. But you are expected to work full time. That's why you are a representative of the people, not a part time representative.
So now, and that is very interesting. And I note that you had said that it's homegrown.
That's right.
So that seems like one of the homegrown ideas.
That's right.
Now, but I wanted to ask you now. So, if you have that situation, so where everybody runs, and I'm talking out of the federal government, people run in their constituencies, they come to the House of Representatives, the Parliament, whatever name we choose to call it. Now, they will always run on a party, on a political platform. So, if you then have them pick among themselves, do you think that will help bring party supremacy, which is one of the things that we seem to have really lost recently in our democratic journey since 1999. If you have somebody else emerge in the parliament as the prime minister, who is not the leader of the party, do you think that will not continue a system where there's contention? Oh, who is the leader of the party? We have a party chairman, but the president is the leader of the party, or, and all of that. Because normally, you have said homegrown, but we're just debating it. Normally, it is the leader of the party, in Britain or India, that becomes the prime minister. I wanted you to
that's why I'm saying we don't have to copy and paste somewhere. We can look at it and develop what works for us. Okay. If you look at it, I'm very particular with that word, what works for us.
Yeah.
And we need to sit down. We are the ones to determine what works for us, not somebody that is somewhere in another country to say this is what is best for Nigeria. No, we know our challenges in Nigeria. We know our strength. So why don't we take advantage of these things and sit down and say, look, gentlemen, this is what it is. What you have discussed about party supremacy, is all about nomenclature. This can be defined in our guidance, which is whichever constitution we end up having. So let's have our own guide and have our own nomenclature. You have leaders of the party, for example. What happens at the end of the day? Party leaders I don't have, presidents change chairman of the party overnight. The moment the president doesn't like you as a chairman of the party,
right?
In the First Republic, we know how powerful chairman of parties were.
Yeah.
But here, where are we? Overnight, if the president is not interested in you, they will just create something, and the next thing, your history.
So how do we avoid that in the parliamentary system?
That's why I'm saying we need to sit together. We have already seen the challenges we've got, the faces we have faced. We have faced, the issue of where the leadership of the National Assembly is being changed from the villa in those days. The president is not interested. You have done something wrong. You are changed over. These are the things that we need to stop. So we should learn from our experiences, look back and see where are we coming from? Right. What are the challenges that are making us not to progress? Yes, there's people keep saying the Nigerian factor. I believe we have very committed, hardworking, intelligent Nigerians around the system.
Absolutely.
But a good number of them are even complaining the system is not working. And I'll cite 2 examples that happened in the last week. One of them was before you, which is the Minister of Aviation. He was saying that the system is too corrupt. This is the Minister of Aviation. He said it, that the regulators are not doing their work. In fact, if I might quote him, he's like, aviation might be one of the most corrupt. Government parastatals. I saw him say that.
Right.
I saw the EFCC chairman said, look, no matter how good you are, you get into the system, you get contaminated. So we believe there is something fundamentally wrong. It's like a house that's on a shaky foundation. What happens? It's a matter of time before it collapses. We hope it doesn't happen. Let's realize that there are cracks here, things are not working. And what is the way forward? And the beauty of it is that a good number of Nigerians we're talking to strongly believe that this is the way forward. But we shouldn't come and determine for over 200 million Nigerians. Let's find an avenue where a good number of us can come together and believe that, gentlemen, we are not getting it right on this. For example now, just look at ministers. You elect a president, but at the end of the day, how many ministers, they don't even know what are the challenges of their people. They don't know what the people want. And at the end of the day, there's always that friction between them and the National Assembly, because the National Assembly, the demands of your people. Yeah, they come from the... Exactly. So there's always that thing. So what about if you're elected to the parliament? You know what the people need. You know how best to tackle these challenges. And the shortest possible time, you will see that things are getting better. And notwithstanding, those that are in power, they dare not tell you that things are happening when you know they're not happening. You come to the floor, for example, let's talk about insecurity, which is the biggest challenge we have in Nigeria today.
Yes.
You are the Minister, for example, of Defense. 6 months before now, you sat down in a budget and say you need X amount, X, Y, Z. You're going to make life better. But every day there's a motion insecurity here. You run out of lies, and what happens? We get you outside that ministry. You have to leave, because you cannot come and be telling us one thing for 6 months. And we continue to remain on that.
True.
So we get people that can do it. If you can't, you get back and you come back to your representative seat. We get those that have what it takes. So those are the things that we need to be deliberate. We need to sit down and make plans that we know will help Nigeria and get us out of where we are today, because we're in a quagmire.
Clearly.
We are, indeed.
Clearly. I mean, and like I said, one of the reasons that I believe that the parliamentary system will work for us, based on our experience, especially since 1999, is that the presidential system, and I've said this, and I'd like to say it again, and hear your comment. The presidential system affords us a situation where whoever is sitting down in the villa as a president has the opportunity to just hide himself away from taking public responsibility. Now, a parliamentary system where the prime minister sits in the parliament, just like you described, he sits in the parliament. Even the other ministers too, they are members of the parliament, and they must take questions from their colleagues, from the public. It is seen every day. That is going to increase the level of transparency on the one hand. Everybody knows what is going on. You can't really hide. And then it will also increase the accountability, of people who have a public responsibility, and people who are being entrusted with power. So those are the two things. But clearly, even in terms of the tension that you described between ministers and the legislators, it will be absent under the system.
Well, in addition to what you have said, as in the last couple of weeks, for example, the president has been out of the country on official engagement.
Yeah.
While he was away, we had challenges of fuel scarcity for a couple of days.
Yeah.
We know how the average Nigerians got to suffer, and they're still suffering. Because in some places, as at this morning, somewhere in the northern, in my state, for example, in my local government, Tambuwal, as at today, they were selling petrol at over 1,500 in filling stations. As at today, still.
Are you kidding?
Yes. I spoke with a constituent this morning just to be sure what is going on. He said it's 1,500. That's what he's buying a liter. Not about that. We're talking about the power sector. You can see what has happened in the last couple of weeks. The same time you can see with the taxation. When you are in the people parliament, that communication should take place. The president, the leader should be hands-on. We want a leader where every single day you are on top of situation. You are able to relate to the citizens. Not from third party. The leader should be able to communicate. The leader should say this is what is going on. The leader should, this is what is happening. So we in the parliament, you can hold them responsible when the right thing is not being done. Afterwards, it's not somebody talking on his behalf. He is the one talking based on the mandate that is being given to him.
Right.
So these are the things we believe can make Nigeria better. For example, I keep making this example. Imagine a 2023 parliament with a Tinubu, with Peter Obi and Atiku.
All of them in the house.
That is it. So that is it. We want the best to be in one place, whether you are the one who is leading or not, but be elected and be where you are going to make sure that lives of the ordinary, of the Nigerian people is changed. We need to be deliberate on that.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. Imagine the House of Representatives, the Parliament, where Mr. Tinubu is the Prime Minister, and Mr. Atiku is the opposition leader, and then Mr. Peter Obi is also excellent. I mean, it will be very, very exciting, and hopefully he can transform the country. This is my view. But let's talk about, how this is going to happen. What is the level of support that you have in the House of Representatives? Can you just give us an idea? How popular is this idea?
Well, in the House, to be honest, it is quite popular. But it's not just for us in the House. If you look, we had the first reading on the 14th of April.
Okay.
And deliberately.
Have you had the second reading?
Not yet. We decided to be very strategic in our approach. Strategic in the sense that, my generation, our generation of this they are not very familiar with the parliamentary system.
Yeah.
And we believe that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Right.
It's not something that should happen overnight. We need to enlighten, we need to educate the citizens. People need to be on board of what to expect from it. And we said, let's find where we are coming from. We are privy to have some of the leaders, some of the founding leaders that were in the First Republic, that played a key role when this happened. And we've been able to visit a good number of them.
Like who and who?
Well, we visited Alhaji Aminu Dantata, who was a member of the party. Yeah, in Kano. We visited Chief BC Akande. He was part of those that played one role or the other in the First Republic. We visited Professor Ango Abdullahi.
Okay,
he was part of those, exactly. Chief Oshoba, we had time with him. We met Chief Edwin Clark. So a good number of them that were part of it.
And have they all given their support?
They all believe that this is the way forward for Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
All of them. They're there in the news. We had the meeting, they were recorded. You find out, they're out in the news.
Interesting.
All they said. So they believe in this. But coming down to our own generation, they start disconnect. So we believe we need to get them on board. And if you look maybe in the papers today, we decided to find a way to communicate to our students across tertiary institutions across the globe.
Okay.
Why do we need that? Because they're the future of the country.
Right.
So they need to be part of this debate.
Yes.
We need to own this debate, and we need to believe that this is what is best for us. You cannot be doing something of that magnitude without carrying the citizens along. So that is why we decided to put that as a where they can tell us the benefits, because some of them have shown interest in what we're doing. When you put it on the social media out there, they tell you this is it. That look, this is the way forward, this is the way forward. So based on that, what we intend to achieve starting from today, from this essay that we've put out, is to make sure that a very good number of Nigerians are talking about it in the tertiary institutions. Then from there, we take it to the other aspects of, our people, whether the market woman, the market man, the religious leaders, traditional leaders. By the way, we've started seeing the religious leaders and traditional. We have met the Oni of Ife, on behalf of the traditional rulers, he spoke. He's in touch with them. I think he's trying to mobilize as many as
Is he also in support?
He is very much in support. He is in for it, and he said if there's anything that is required to sensitize the average Nigerian, he's out there to assist.
What about the Sultan of Sokoto?
We will be seeing him.
Okay.
But he's on board, and he believes that this is the way forward.
Your B of Onitsha,
we have seen them some privately, but in the open is just the Oni of Ife that we've met.
Okay.
But 100% in support of what we're doing. Fantastic. And like I said, even the leaders, those that participated, in the Constituent Assembly in 1978, 79, a very good number of them believe that, the military made a fundamental mistake, which is to give them only two options. They said, look, we either have the French system of government or the American system. And majority of them believe that that is not the way forward for Nigeria. But, the young military guys in those days, in the 80s and the 70s, very young gentlemen that thought that after the Civil War, let's have a forceful leader that can unite us. We were just coming out of the Civil War then. Right. And majority of Nigerians, as at then, the circumstances, we just want to have peace. We didn't look at the long-term implication of what we are going to practice. And that is why we are where we are. Yeah,
interesting. Thank you so much, Honorable Representative Abdul Samad Dasuki, representing Kebe and Tambuwa Federal Constituency from Sokoto State, a member of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources, and thank you for your contributions. And I am really in support of this, and we will push it because it will make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Laulu.
Yeah.